Welcome to another episode of Relatively Famous, the podcast where I, Chip White, interview relatives of famous people. Could be a brother, mother, son, father, dad, cousin. Well, my famous relative is Vanna White of Wheel of Fortune, hence my podcast. Today, it's going to be a fun day. I have Leland Chapman, who is the son of Dog the Bounty Hunter. So you know this is going to be fun. Now, speaking of family fun, if you're looking for the perfect family vacation, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. That's visitmyrtlebeach.com. Plan a vacation in the Myrtle Beach area, the Grand Strand, from North Myrtle Beach to Pawleys Island, Litchfield, at visitmyrtlebeach.com. 90 golf courses, 2,000 restaurants, and the most amazing beach for family. That's at visitmyrtlebeach.com.
Relatively Famous podcast with Chip White.
Leland, welcome to Relatively Famous.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so let's just pretend for a moment that you and I have been out on a couple of stakeouts, wrangled a couple of bounty dudes, and now we're going to take this road trip. What is the one place of all the places you've been in the world that you would really want to take me to, that you really want to say, hey, Chip, you got to experience this?
If we're experiencing it on a bounty hunting level, or this is a beautiful place kind of level? If
a personal level for you, man, what is the one place in your life that you go, dude, I've got to share this with somebody, and let's just take this road trip?
Definitely, without a doubt, it would be Kailua Kona, Hawaii. If you're ever to make it out there, that place is heaven on earth.
So what's special about it for you?
Everything, the land, the ocean, the air, the people. I love everything about Hawaii, except for when it's time to go to the grocery store or fill up your gas tank.
Yeah, it's a little expensive out there.
It is.
Now, you lived in Hawaii for a while, right? Am I correct on that?
Yep, I grew up in Hawaii. I moved over there from about the time I was 13 years old, and I lived there all the way until I was about 38, 39 years old.
Okay. Just real quickly, in case someone is curious or doesn't really know who your dad is, which would be kind of phenomenal, they wouldn't. Tell us a little bit about your dad and the business that you guys are in the TV fame. I mean, the dude he's unmistakably recognizable, right? Which to me seems like it'd be hard to be a bounty hunter. Like, oh, look, there's Dog.
Yeah.
So kind of run us through a little bit about your dad, how he got in the business, how you got in the business, and what it's like being the son of Dog the Bounty Hunter.
So I'll take it way back till about, I was roughly about 8 years old. I met my father for the first time. And at the time, he was a Kirby salesman. So my job with him when I would visit would be to buff Kirby heads, go with him as he went door to door selling Kirby's. And then in the 80s, when I was, about 8, 9 years old, he went off into bounty hunting. And how he got there was basically him and my mom were going to court over child support, custody kind of issues. And I guess the judge asked him, he goes, you know what, Mr., because my dad didn't have no money. And the judge says, you know what, Mr. Chapman, you know what I think you would be good at? If you can get this individual or these two individuals back into my court by next week, I'll go ahead and pay your monthly child support due. So I guess by the end of that day, my dad had got them both, brought them into the court, and the judge said, well, are you lucky? Or he said something like, you know what I think you would be good at is a bounty hunter. And then the rest is history. We started the bounty hunting business, and then they passed a law saying you couldn't be a bounty hunter unless you were a bail bondsman. So he became a bail bondsman. And then it just kind of engulfed the entire family in the business. I remember answering the phones, bail bonds, at like 9 years old, setting up bonds and going to the door as a newspaper delivery guy. I would knock on the door, ask for the defendant, step out of the way. My dad would grab them, and we would be taking them to jail. And then, my dad has always talked about being on TV for as long as I can remember. And, he was working on it. And then we moved to Hawaii when I was about 12, 13 years old. And then he hooked up with this guy named Tony Robbins. He did this motivational thing. And then from there, he started getting his story out there. People became interested. And then what really blasted us off into the fame world was in 2003, there was a guy named Andrew Luster who was found guilty on 80 something counts of date rape. He split to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and me, my dad, and my uncle tracked him down, arrested him. We were arrested by the Mexican police, put into jail, prison, and federal prison over there for roughly, we were there incarcerated for about 7 weeks, made it back to USA, and then on right around the 4th of July, believe it or not. And then we did a TV show called Take This Job, and it got high ratings. And then once the Mexico thing happened, they called us up and said, hey, would you guys be willing to do this on a weekly kind of special? So we had a family meeting. We thought, we can do it. My first paycheck was $500. I thought I was rich at the time. And, the rest is history. We started going off as a family. And, at first, my dad, he was the head of the family, the famous one. Of course, just by the way he looks, he stands out. He was on a lot of news shows and then, of course, our television show. And then, it started off like, hey, you're that guy. I know you. You look familiar. And then it was, your dog's son. And then eventually it became, hey, what's up, Leland?
Yeah, it's always
So,
yeah. Yeah. Hey, your dog's son, it's not like, oh, Leland. It takes a while to get to your Leland.
I still get that. I come to the door. Even last night, I was on a bounty. Boom, I knock on the door. Hey, it's Dog the Bounty Hunter. Come inside, Leland. So.
So do you feel, has it become easier to grab a suspect on a bounty because now, like, oh, dude, you're famous. Yeah, here, arrest me. Take me in. Or does it make it more difficult because you knock on in and they slam the door going, oh, shit. Pardon. Oh, dang. Dog, the bounty hunters are here and they shut the door.
Well, that can work two ways. Some people will be like, well, I got away from Dog the Bounty Hunter, or Leland, please help my son, or whatever. So it can work both ways. But I had to, redevelop my tactics and things like that because, I can't just go walk up to somebody's door and say, hey, I got to, check your water pipe. They're going to be like, what's up, Leland? So I have a different crew, and I have, I assign people. That's my runner. That's my door knocker. This is my guy. So I have different tactics nowadays.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it's kind of made it a little more difficult because you are recognized. And I'm assuming if I've got a bond I'm running from, then I'm watching your TV shows to see if you're looking for me, or watching the news that it would make it a little more difficult.
Right. So, like I said, it's in this business, both the good guys and the bad guys, there's always new tricks. So sometimes we resort to the old school stuff, because that's a given. But there are times where we have to use new technology, new ways, different ways of approach. So it's an ever evolving business.
So, okay, so now your dad, you guys have become famous. You've done TV shows, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've kind of stepped away. You've got, I think, a new show that you're working on. You've started your own bail and bounty business. What's it like going from that world to now you're the boss, you're in charge, and it's kind of all on your shoulders.
Well, I always knew this day would come. You know, I have I rode in the passenger seat for, I don't know, nearly my entire career. And, you know, now, of course, when I move out here, it just kind of evolved that way. You know, I would show up, and even though I was just helping somebody out, people would look at me for, knowledge, for help. And, just because of who I was and what we have been through, that kind of took over. And I gained a lot of experience, traveling from different states all over the country doing this job. So, uh, and I've just soaked it in like a sponge. And it's my job, I feel, to pass it off onto others who are, I just turned 50, or I'm almost turning 50, and I just know that I can't do this forever. So it's kind of my obligation to pass it off onto the next generation and see what they can do with it.
So you grew up in Hawaii. Now I bounce around a lot of my conversations because I don't do a lot of research. I like to have a conversation. So you grew up in Hawaii and you were there for quite a long time. What was your life like there? Not counting the business. Did you surf? Were you a waterman? Wife, kids? What was life like for Leland in Hawaii? And then we'll get past Hawaii. But I love Hawaii, so I'm fascinated by life as a Hawaiian.
So when I was growing up in Colorado, I was hanging out with the wrong crowds. I was into the street gangs and whatnot, and man, I got pretty deep into it. And I was young, and I was trying to make a name for myself. And I just think that that it was a blessing from God at first. I moved to Hawaii. It's like a whole nother country, but at the same time, I was blessed enough to be given a second chance that I was able to start my life over. And I remember sitting on the beach, and I was sitting in front of this stand called Primetime Sports, and I was only 13 years old. And they had one of them big three-wheelers, that float on top of the water, coming off of the water. And this lady was having problems. So my dad told me, get out there and go help that lady. So I was helping her. And then one of the workers seen me, and he's like, hey man, do you want a job? So I was working for $45 a day. I would Saturday and Sunday, and then I would come in a little bit after school because I didn't have no friends. And that was in Waikiki. And then I became what's known as like a Waikiki beach boy, because I pretty much lived over there. And then, that had given me an opportunity to reset, change my life, and to start all over again. My dad claims, he says, how I seen it, son, you were paddling out there, and, I saw that wave coming, you paddled, you caught it, you stood up on your surfboard, you ripped off your bandana, and I saw my son change, something like that. But I didn't have no bandana on, but that was just how my father had seen the change. He said I witnessed it right before my eyes, and and then from that point on, I I could have been whoever I wanted to be. So I was just I took on a whole different identity, and I wanted to be a bail bondsman and to make money and to be into the bounty hunting business.
So modern day bounty hunting it I think it still has that stigma, or not stigma, that in my imagination it's always a Western, right? The bounty hunter was a Western. I mean, it's hard. I don't think of modern day bounty hunters, but what kind of draws that in? Like, what's the biggest bail you've had someone jump, or the biggest bounty you've been able to encounter?
Well, of course, it's the Andrew Luster, the $1 million one in Mexico. But I'll kind of explain the evolution of bounty hunting for me. I started off very young, 8, 9 years old, dressed up like a newspaper boy. I remember my first big bounty. We had to spot the car, and it was a little blue pickup with a ladder rack. And I was so young at the time, I couldn't whistle when I spotted it. So I ran over and told him, here he comes, here he comes. And And then my first taste of a real bounty is I was 18 years old. I just had got my license. I was living on the Big Island all by myself. And I had a $25,000 jump. His name was Mark Cabral. And he jumped over to another island, Maui. And then my dad, I was trying to get him to pay my truck payment at the time, something like $400. But he bought me a one-way ticket to Maui and said, "Man, you got to find this guy." He hooked me up with some local guy and his girlfriend, and they drove me 3.5 hours up to this place called Hana Maui. They got into a beef, the boyfriend and girlfriend, and they left me, and I stayed there. I camped on the beach for a couple nights, and I was determined to find this guy. I would hitchhike everywhere from house to house, and the cops nicknamed me Rusty Cuffs because my handcuffs were rusted from staying on the beach. And they would be like, "Man, you're just like a baby," because I looked probably 15 years old. And they would give me a little bit of hints here and there, and this was a long time ago when Pakalolo was illegal in Hawaii. But I had come across an address, and I found this guy growing these marijuana plants like 20 feet long, and nobody really knew what a bounty hunter was. So I called, and the guy thought I was like a Fed, and I had my dad on the phone, and I told him, "Listen, man, we're gonna let this go as long as you help me catch, Mark." And that was the cousin. So, man, they fed me. They let me stay inside their house. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, they came and woke me up, and they said, "Okay, bro, we got to go." And in Maui, it's all flat pastures. And it was a full moon that night. And we were just cruising. It was probably 3:30 in the morning. And I don't know, it was probably a block or two away. I could see the silhouette of this guy, and he had this big old long piece of hay in his mouth, and he was twirling some other kind of branch. And I said, "Oh, that is the guy." So I just was young at the time, and I took off running after him. And man, I watched that guy just like shapeshift into a deer, and he just disappeared. And so I was following everywhere that I heard the dogs. I just kept following barks wherever they would go. I would go, and eventually I came across his campsite. He had all these guavas and papayas and water. So I took it all, poured it all out. I destroyed it, took his tent, took everything, and then we called it a night. A few days later, he had called the house where I was staying at and said, "Bro, I'm sick. You got me out here in the middle of the woods. You took all of my belongings, and I want to turn myself in." So I negotiated that I would take him to see his mom, I would take him to see his girlfriend, and then we would go to jail. The only thing I lied about was I told him I would take him all the way down 3 hours to Kahului to turn him in, and instead I turned him in right there. So I went to his mom's house. She fed us, and then I had him park in the car with his girlfriend, where it was a sea cliff like 2,000 feet on one side, and we were in the mom's car parked behind him. So he talked to her for about 15, 20 minutes. Then we went to the police department, and the cops couldn't believe when I brought him in. I turned him in, and then I was kind of abandoned. I was walking down the highway, hitchhiked, caught a ride from a substitute teacher, told her the story, on what just happened. So she drove me all the way to the airport. I got on the plane, I flew back, and he was one of Hawaii's most wanted fugitives. He escaped out of jail, and he was on the run, and I caught him probably in about 8, 9 days. And that was
Wow,
my first. My dad just pushed me into the water and said, "Swim."
that's awesome. So now, what's life been like outside? Married, kids? What?
So
What? I
I
mean,
have
go
I
ahead.
have 3 children. My first son was born when I was 18. I was still in high school. His name is Dakota. And I got married and had another child, Kobe. Then after the Mexico thing and whatnot, that we got divorced. And then I had one more child, my daughter Leia. And then I lived in Hawaii for a while. And then after the show started coming to an end, I just kind of had, like this self recognition kind of thing. Like, who am I? I know that I'm a good bounty hunter out here in Hawaii, but shoots, I've lived out here my whole life. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of connections. And I said, a way to really test myself is to go somewhere where I don't know nobody, don't, whatever. And at first it was going to be Arizona, but Beth had came to me and said they were opening an office in Alabama if I can go uh, man that office for about 6 months. And then so I came to Alabama and I started working in Chattanooga, and that was 7 hours away, and I would drive up there every weekend. So I moved to Huntsville, Alabama, and I caught Hamilton counties. That's in Chattanooga. I caught the top 10 most wanted fugitive. And right when I was ready to quit and go back to Hawaii, because I was thinking, man, I don't know if this is right for me. And I was in the shower. I said a prayer and said, man, if this is meant for me to be here, let me be successful. Before I got out of the shower, I had the lead. And so I rushed out, caught the guy. And then I thought, well, maybe that was just coincidence. And, I will wait to see how successful I am again. And I was chasing another big bounty up there. And, man, I caught her a couple days later. And then I just thought, man, I'm just going to stick with it because this feels right. It feels good. It feels like this is what I need to be doing. And then I got hooked up with a couple bail bondsmen out here, started bounty hunting. And, now I work my way up to, I am on the state, uh, I'm on the Bail Bonds Association as the fugitive recovery representative. And, I just started getting lucky working with these insurance companies. And, man, I just started hitting homers. And next thing here I am. So I still have my business in Hawaii. I just opened up a bail bonds business here in Alabama because my son moved out here with my grandson. So I have 2 counties out here and the whole state of Hawaii.
So it sounds like that success has been very good. Now, I was introduced to you through Clint Eastwood's daughter, Kimber, who we had on the show. And I understand you guys are pitching and trying to get a reality show for you, right?
Right. I've been trying to, but, honestly, since the whole, defund the police and everything like that, it's hard. It's hard to get to get anybody to take a chance on you. But I will say the only show that they never really stopped during that time was Dog the Bounty Hunter. So, I've been, everybody tells me, Leland, you need your own show. You need your own show. At first, I was like, well, I don't know, but, I think now, why not? Let's go for it and let's see where it goes. And I would love to build and to just take what we had built before and make it better. So the next generation.
Now, do you have a good relationship with your dad? Do you guys still chat? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
research. I'm not looking for dirt, just curious.
Yeah. Me and my father are still really close. We've always pretty much remained close. He's remarried. He's happy in life, and he's semi-retired. He goes around to churches speaking and preaching, and he takes some high-profile missing persons kind of cases and things like that. But my dad is. I think we all are as a family. We're in this for the long run.
So have you brought your kids into the business also?
So my son Kobe, my youngest son, he runs my Hawaii business, and my oldest boy, Dakota, he lives out here in Alabama with me, and he runs my business out here. So yeah, we this is a family business, and I would like to leave not just a legacy for them, but I'd also like to leave a way of life.
So, what has been the most dangerous or the worst case you've been on, or I don't know how to put it other than what's the worst experience bounty hunting you've ever been across?
Well, I say, of course, that getting in trouble and thrown in jail and stuff over it. That's the worst experience. But with every bounty, I feel there's a sense of danger. It just depends on how you on how you handle the situation. And of course, the world has changed. It's not the same as it was 15 years ago or whatever. And it's like I said, it's ever evolving. And when I try to think about what is the most dangerous, I think, man, was at the time I was the most scared, but then after we do it, looking back at it, sometimes you think, man, that was either crazy or that wasn't so bad. But man, I've had a lot of close calls. I work in Michigan a lot, and I work all over the country pretty much. Mississippi is rough. There's parts in Alabama that are rough. You know, so it's hard for me to tell you what would be my
Yeah.
most scariest.
Well, I can tell you, man, people are crazy now. It just scares me sometimes driving down the road and you give somebody a stink eye, man, and you're just waiting. Are they going to shoot me at the stoplight?
Well, just the other day that you said that, I was driving my car, and I was waiting for a car in front of me to turn, and I guess the guy behind me didn't see the car in front of me, so he drove by pointing his gun, or showing it to me, like,
Yeah.
driving by. And I just thought, man, that guy, I wasn't even at the fault. And, he wants to shoot me over something stupid. So, yeah, it's definitely crazy out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wish you luck with Kimber and you guys popping this show off and it taking off. But the one thing I like to kind of ask at the end is, what's the one question that I didn't ask you, or the one thing in your life you really want to share?
The one thing in my life that I really want to share is, you know, uh, as far as my family and my career, I hope, I can, if I do get a TV show, I hope that I can, you know, uh, make it better than what we had before. I want to leave a positive legacy, not just for my children, but for everybody out there that is a fan of mine and a fan of my family. And I just want to be a good impact on somebody's life. And I know, I hear it all the time of how we've helped people out and saved their life and done this, and they've watched the show and they've recovered from this, and it was our TV show that helped them make these decisions. So I just want to continue that. And, I want to make not just this business, but everybody that I come in contact with in my little world a better place. You know what I mean? So uh, that's what I'm out for. I'm not out to try to Rambo anybody and kick in their doors. I want to change people and 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 make a difference in somebody's life.
So that's a great thought. So it did bring up another question for me. Is there a particular bounty or that someone that you brought in that really they said, and it's in your mind, you changed their life? What happened? It's sucking that they had to go to jail, whatever, got arrested, but it changed lives. Is there some story or particular person that you can go, that bounty is kind of a
Yep.
pinnacle of what I'm hoping to set to?
Yep. Actually, what comes to my mind, the quickest is my guy on the Big Island, Bosco, on season 3, episode 1 or 2. We arrested him on our show, and we put him in jail. He did, 10 years or so in jail, in prison. He got out, and he works right underneath me on the Big Island, works side by side my son, and he's, one of the best bounty hunters that I have over there. And you know, what makes it so special is where he came from, how he changed his life. And not only do he go out and help me find these guys, but he repays them for what we as a family, my father, I, and Beth, and everybody else, helped him to become who he is today. He tries to help everybody out in the same kind of way. And I think, that's what it's all about, to see that come full circle, and to see that. And he tells me every day, hey, bro, it's because of you that I'm here, and because of you that I'm doing this, and because of your family and what you guys have done for me, that I think that I owe it to the rest of the people to return that favor. So that's what makes it, man. If it wasn't, for anything, it's for that.
Well, that's a great positive note to end on, Leland. This has been terrific chatting with you. And, it changes my thoughts of bounty hunting because, again, I always think back to the old movies, wanted, dead or alive, but it's obviously not the case anymore. But, hey, I wish you luck with the TV show. If we see it happen, we maybe have you back on and talk about that. And hopefully
right on. And if the TV show thing doesn't work out, then, I was thinking maybe, I would help find missing kids or people that have gone missing, so
yeah, that's
one way or the other, we're gonna make some kind of impact in somebody's life.
Help close some story no matter what, whether it's,
amen.
And but missing kids would be phenomenal. Well, again, Leland, I want to appreciate your time and thank you for being here. And
I appreciate it.
We'll chat soon, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. God bless.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Man, that was pretty cool. Leland, thank you for being a guest. And, your dad, man, he is definitely has a look that you can't miss. I'd see him coming over going, hey, look, dog's coming after me. Anyway, thank you, Leland. We appreciate you guys taking the time to listen or watch Relatively Famous. I want to thank Nelco Media for producing this. I want to thank Nelco Comics for hosting our amazing shop, our studio. If you're looking for an unusual comic or you're looking into the comic book world, check out Nelco Media in San Antonio. And if you're looking for the perfect family vacation or even a golf vacation or just a vacation to get away, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. Check out all the amazing opportunities and things to do in the Myrtle Beach area. Again, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. Go check out my hometown area and tell them you heard about it on Relatively Famous. Now, if you happen to be related to someone famous or know someone related to someone famous that might want to be a guest, we'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at podcastrelativelyfamous@gmail.com. That's podcastrelativelyfamous@gmail.com. We're always looking for a guest. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
You've been listening to Relatively Famous with Chip White. Please like and subscribe to Relatively Famous with Chip White.